So let's walk on over to the magic wall and show you some of the facts and figures that are applicable. Firstly, that figure is staggering. 326 million rand in assets. That is the value of the assets that have been forfeited to the assets forfeiture unit of the NPA. Here's how it works. The High Court has granted that final forfeiture order against the alleged Maumela syndicate with assets worth 326 million rand permanently seized by the state. It is a major victory for the NPA's assets forfeiture unit, which successfully argued that these assets were the proceeds of unlawful activities. So let me go straight to show you then some of what was at play here. These are the assets that are seized. We are told that these are properties in Bantry Bay, high-end areas really in Cape Town, Zimbali Estate, in Palito, in KwaZulu-Natal, properties in Sandton. But the one that really had my jaw dropping for a moment was that one. The 4 Lamborghinis, right? You might get the penchant for luxury vehicles that some people might have, but 4 Lamborghinis, a Bentley Continental GT. You then have other vehicles, a boat and a trailer, also forming part of those assets. Let me quickly just recap and go back to one slide back just for a moment to talk about some of what is at play in the whole process of assets forfeiture. It is in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, commonly known as POCA. There are 2 types of forfeitures that can happen. One is called a Chapter 5 forfeiture, and the other is a Chapter 6 forfeiture. Chapter 5 is one that is conviction-based, right? So at the end of the trial, the assets forfeiture unit will say these were proceeds of crime or instruments and used in the commission of a crime. Chapter 6 is the one that we're dealing with. The way it works is that the standard is a bit lower. It is on a balance of probabilities as opposed to beyond a reasonable doubt. So sort of akin, if you want to think of it that way, slightly akin to what the SIU would do in terms of seizing assets. They just need to show that on a balance of probabilities, these are probably proceeds of crime or instruments used in the commission of a crime. And if they can dispense with that, onus, then they'd be able to have those forfeited. It's a 2-step process. Initially, there's that preservation order that was attained as far as these assets are concerned. And then later on, once they've dispensed within 90 days of attaining that preservation order, they're able to come to the court and prove on a balance of probabilities that these were proceeds of crime or instruments in the commission of a crime. And Bob is your uncle. You find yourself in the terrain in which we find ourselves this evening. Just a recap then in terms of where we come from with these investigations. This forfeiture follows a probe that began with the explosive whistleblower report by the late Babita Deokaran, who was later assassinated, as we say. The investigation uncovered widespread fraud involving Tembisa Hospital contracts. Some 14 entities are now under scrutiny, with contracts worth more than 400 million rand being investigated. The good news is that all recovered funds will be returned to the Department of Health, ensuring that money meant for public health care is finally put to its intended use. In fact, I can say lastly a bit about that. There's what is known as CARA, the Criminal Assets Recovery Account, right? That's where this money goes once these properties and assets have been sold on auction. You will have heard of CARA in the context of some of the work that was needed against GBV, against illegal mining. It's where the departments then apply, as Kaiser Khanyago was explaining a bit earlier on. They would then apply there for them to be able to have access to that money. But it is forfeited to the state, and these assets will be sold on auction. So that's some of what we thought you need to know to contextualize this story around the Maumela situation.